My name is Richard Weir, and I'm the current chair of the Grow Your Own series, and want to welcome you all to the final of our 7-class program on creating a productive edible garden in the home landscape. This program is a part of Texas Master Gardener program in Fort Bend County. See it there? We work in close partnership with Texas A&M's AgriLife Extension Agency. For those of you who are new to us, and I apologize to those who have heard this over and over again, Texas A&M AgriLife Extension provides research-based educational programs and outreach services to Texas communities through county offices. We're fortunate to be guided in our work by Jody Taylor, who is our Fort Bend County Extension Agent for Horticulture, and Brandy Rader, our Program Coordinator. Both of those are essential to this program and making it successful. I would also like to thank my fellow Master Gardeners who are the volunteers here who have been helping with this. I could not pull this off without them. I probably could, but I would be totally dead afterwards. We also have a new IT team who have been working diligently to make the presentations sound better and improve then the quality of the recordings. And last but not least, my boss, who's hiding behind the iPad there, or Nancy Utek, who's our outstanding chair of all the programs within our Master Gardener group. She makes my job a lot easier. And I'm grateful for that. To learn more about all of our programs or how you could become a Master Gardener, you can go to fbmg.org, and that will show you a wide range of both resources and information about Fort Bend Master Gardeners. A couple of housekeeping items. Bathrooms are out the door and to the right. We ask that you silence your phones and keep side conversations to a minimum. A link to this presentation will be sent out within a week to all those who have pre-registered and have registered today, so you don't have to try and focus your phone and take a snapshot of the screen. At the end, there are QR codes on the table. We ask that you go ahead and click on that. Let us know how this program was, but also what's very essential is, with this being the end, we're looking forward to next year. So what is it that you would like to know about the world of gardening, landscaping, and so on, that would make it beneficial for you all to do that? So our job is to provide you all as a resource to make your gardens glow, your yards wonderful, and so on and so on. So the more that we hear from you all about what you need, the better off we can help to work to provide that. We have a lot of very smart people, not me, but a lot of smart people in this organization who know a lot about this kind of stuff. After the class, if you would like, you're welcome to tour the vegetable and herb garden, which is straight in the back, and then the rest of our gardens, which include butterfly, HOA areas, and so on. You're welcome to go out and tour that as well. We will be locking this door if you go out, so you'll need to walk around the building in order to get back to your vehicle. We also have started a fruit tree area, which is the farthest to the right as you're looking out that way, and that is newly developed and is really looking very nice. So today's presentation is indeed on cool season vegetables and herbs. Our presenter, as mentioned, is Lauren Martin. One thing she did not say on the bio that I'm going to share with you is that she's a regular contributor to the Fort Bend Herald, which doesn't cost a lot of money to subscribe to. And you can get all your sports information there. Called The Lazy Gardener. And no, it's not called The Lazy Gardener. I have renamed it, and it should be indeed the... Because it was already taken, The Lay Back Gardener. Oh, The Lay Back Gardener. I've was being lazy, so I've got to change that. Um, and I find it very helpful for the information she provides there. And though seeing her in action, she is not laid back. She's really wonderful and has a wide range of experiences. And as Lauren mentioned, Steve Hicks decided to get surgery so he could get out of presenting at this program, which we will not let him forget. Lauren was part of the Master Gardener class of 2006 for 6 years, then returned in 2015 until the current year, working primarily on the help desk. She has earned advanced training in vegetable gardening, plant pathology, and entomology. She's also on the Speakers Bureau, giving presentations before presentations, period. Forgot the period. Before retiring, Lauren worked in the hotel industry with the Four Seasons and Ritz-Carlton hotels. She's been married to her husband Peyton for 38 years, has 3 children and 3 grandchildren so far. They are a mixed marriage, which I didn't understand when I first read this until I read the following, that Peyton attended Texas A&M and Lauren went to UT. So you all can figure out what that means. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce, I've already introduced her, pass the mic to Lauren.
We do the cool season gardening in August so that if you plant by seed, they're ready to go out into the ground. When you plant by seed, you want to do it inside with a grow light, and then you can start moving your transplants outside. If you do all transplants, we will have a kind of a guide up here as to when they need to go in the ground. But overall, generally in this part of Texas, you're going to do it around September. Okay, so personally, I think fall gardening is the most fun. Less bugs, it's cooler, and the majority or the highest percentage of your plants are actually going to be underground, known as root vegetables. So you've got, if you're doing your tomatoes and stuff like that, that would be your late warm season. I mean, basically, we can almost grow year-round. Cool season crops are what we're going to deal a little bit more on, and then your herbs. And it's pretty much all the herbs, except basil. It's a big weenie when it gets cold. To begin with and you probably already know some of these things, but who's going to do the gardening? Who's going to do the weeding? Who's going to do the watering? Those are questions you need to ask. Are you going to be giving food away? Most do. We give to our neighbors, but if you really have a nice large garden, don't forget the county food banks. And plant what you like to eat. Personally, I like to add something new every year just to expand my palate. And you might want to you can grow just try something new. And to analyze the space that you have. So if you're going to do a raised bed, or if you're going to be in the ground, or even what I call above ground. That would be the ones that are up here, so you don't have to bend. And you have air where you can store pots or your fertilizers under. So there's like 3 types of gardening. My recommendation, especially if you're starting out, is to make if you were going to do a raised bed like the top one, oh, here, I've got a pointer. There. Okay, on those. Make them no more than 4 feet wide, and then you can make it as long as you want. 4 feet, because that's usually the length of your arm. So that way you don't have to stand on your soil and compact it, and you walk around to the other side. And that way you can get 4 feet covered. So that's a good, just general thing. If you're doing, in ground, just see how much room you have and how big and all the care that goes into it. Everybody wants to be an organic gardener. I worked at Enchanted Gardens for many years, and everybody was organic until they came up to me and said, I've got a caterpillar, how do I kill it? Okay, so one thing to remember also if you're in organic gardening is that you got to watch how much you use it. You know, I've got into some discussions with people who are just like, I don't, you know, whatever. And I'm like, you know, ants are organic. Snake venom is organic. You got to watch what you're using and use the appropriate amount, whether it's organic or chemical. Soil amendments, these are all great if you need to. Wood ash, wouldn't use it all the time. You know, wood ash would be something from your fireplace. And then that would be, then depend upon if you're using your tree branches or, you know, treated wood. You don't want the treated wood. So does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. So about every 2, maybe 3 years, I would do a soil test, especially if you're gardening, let's say, the 2 seasons. It's really just one big season for us. But you want to get those tests. I've got a team. We're on a team at Help Desk. So if you do a soil test and you don't understand it, feel free to call the Help Desk. And it's going to pretty much kind of, if we need anything, it's most likely going to be nitrogen. That seems to be the most common nutrient that we need in our soil. Blood meal, blood meal in your vegetable garden, I don't know, I've had it 50-50. It attracts rabbits, mice, rats, because it's from blood. So you really need to work it in there, because one year I had where I put a bunch of pansies in a perimeter, came back the next morning and every one of them was popped out. And I had put blood meal in there before I put the plants in. So they popped it right out, picked out those little granules, and no more. So I had to go plant them all back in. So mulching, very important. We don't do it I don't think consistently, but you can use, that's what it does. It helps with the weeds, but mostly what it does, it helps conserve water, because otherwise you're watering a lot. And in the next deal, you can see all the different kinds. I would not do plastic, but it is out there. You know, I would think, you know, you can do hardwood, chopped up wood or anything like that, but you're conserving water, which in turn will also block the sun from any seeds. So when it comes to preparing, let's say if you were going to do this type of gardening, farm style or just in ground, you have a tendency to want to till. I'm not a big believer in tilling, because you're not only breaking up the fungal activity under the soil, you're also bringing up weed seeds up to the sun. So you're kind of break it up with a fork, go 3 to 4 inches deep, but I wouldn't do it any deeper. Grass clippings are great as long as you don't do a bunch of treatment on your lawn. And then kind of in the December to January, that's a good time to do cover crop. And you don't do anything with it. You just throw the seeds out, they grow, they fix nitrogen, they do all kinds of things below the soil. And then, and you can easily find that online as to all the different types of plants that we can use to be cover crop. And that just, you can do that. I've also just put kind of like landscape tarp and solarized my beds. So that means that the sun's still getting in there, it's heating it up. You do have to roll it off, but it just keeps the weeds from growing. This used to have a thunderstorm sound to it, but I think it doesn't work anymore. So one of the first things you want to think about, let me back up. Is anybody here planting or making a garden for the first time? Okay. That's good. Well, you're starting at a great time. So unlike me 20, 30 years ago, I didn't think about the water issue. So I hauled a hose. So think about your water issue, where it's coming from, how you're going to set it up, drip irrigation, hand watering, one of the old-timey kind of, not a windmill, but the kinds that went back and forth. What? Yes. Rain barrels are good. If you're just going to use it for watering your plants, that's the easiest. If you're saving water to use for yourself, that gets into a whole nother filtration system. But rain barrels for watering plants and doing things like that, it works out great. I'm a big believer in drip irrigation because at this time of year for about 2 months, you may need to get about 2 inches of water per week on your garden. Just depends on how well you have it mulched. But generally, including your lawn, including rain, you only need 1 inch a week. And it's better to do it at one time versus a little bit all the time. Because regarding your lawn, what you're trying to do is get the roots deep. You want them to grow down into the soil, and that way they can handle your the summer heat, the sun beating down. So kind of keep that in mind, especially as water is getting more scarce and more expensive. Oh. Does anybody hear anything? Okay. So, well, there we are. 1 inch a week. Use a rain gauge. And I have found that if you can keep, whether it's a soaker hose or a nearby drip hose, but if you can keep the water off the leaves on anything, ornamental plant in a pot, in your landscape, or your vegetable garden, you want to keep it, because that's when there's the higher possibility of bringing fungal or any type of pathogen into your garden. And it's best to water in the morning, because then you've got all day for it to soak into the soil and for the sun to dry it off if some does land on the leaves. You don't give that much time if you water in the evening. But if you do, just make sure you try it as best you can to keep it off the leaves. And then I'm a big fan of drip irrigation. I mean, there's all kinds of setups that you can do. It's fairly easy. It just depends how complicated. I do straight lines, just in between the rows or the plants. But it conserves water. It gets it directly to where it needs to be. You're not watering all the space in between the plants. See, there I go again. Can you hear me? Okay. I know Lowe's has a good little program, I think. The complete set, I think it's 50 feet of the rubber rows, and then you can put in where you put in your little spikes that are going to be the sprinkler towards the plant that you've got it going around. So here's probably a soaker hose. And I'm not sure what Steve's got planted here. Steve has a in-ground garden rose area. So here are the dates that I'm talking about. You can take a picture of it, but as Richard said earlier, this is going to be sent to you in about a week or two. You can also look it up online. And you'll see that most things are in the September area. Some are a little bit earlier in August. This is talking about transplants. Seeds are going to be starting now. And then the green is the ideal, the red is marginal, and seeds, this is seeds unless noted. Okay, I'm not sure what we've got here. Steve's an old engineer. Not old, ex-engineer, and some of this is going to get really specific. Okay, so a lot of your resources can come from FortBendMasterGardeners.org. Richard mentioned that earlier. And then a great feature that's on the AgriLife is that you can look up specific plants, and it'll give you a very general guideline of what to expect, when to plant it, and such as that. It also includes some fruit trees. Okay, so let's just pretend these are 2x6 beds, and this is going to be your rotation. You're going to rotate your plants, and let's say you just have one, so then just from one end, don't plant your tomatoes on the same edge of the raised bed. Move it to the other side or down, and so that different nutrients are used up, different bugs are attracted, which not that much in the fall, and you just are going to have a healthier soil. So I don't know if you can see the light green, but that's like peas, beans and fava beans. And then you've got your onions. A lot of your underground plants and your tomatoes and peppers. So you're staying kind of in the same family of your vegetables. And the last one being lettuces. Well, I'm even having a hard time reading it up here. Yeah, that's going to be like a lot of your brachias, which are your cauliflowers, broccoli, stuff like that. I know I'm kind of whipping through this. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. And this is just another group, just kind of depending on your sizes and how to look at it. But it'll pretty much, do y'all know what I mean by it'll be the family groups? Okay, so like brachias. What's a brachia? There's about 4 or 5 plants. Okay, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, so things like that. And then when I say underground, be thinking, turnips, beets, radishes. Radishes are great to plant, especially if you have any children, young children or grandchildren there with you, because you can harvest those within about 3 to 4 weeks. And I found with my own kids that, like, I didn't have to always, as time went on, I don't know, what would be an example? Like cheese on top of broccoli. No. Man, Mom, put that garlic stuff. And so it's just, what they plant, you have a tendency to expand their horizon. Or they can eat it for breakfast if they don't finish it at dinner. I've been known to do that too. Okay, so this is this is Boone Holiday. He's transferred to Galveston. We're already going to go through the seeds, so we're not watching this. Okay, so seed sources. This is something that I like to do, about January. January to February is really our winter. At least when it gets cold. So these are great sources. Once again, you'll get this in about a week or two. But you can take a picture. And they're kind of fun because I one year did, I think they call them, I don't know what the official name is, but they're known as Japanese green beans. They're like 18 inches, well, they're longer than that, but you want to harvest them at 18 inches. So it's almost like pretended we had spaghetti, but we did it with green beans. And they could use their fingers. So it was a huge success. This is the hardiness planting zone. We are, in this area, we're 9B. Houston might be 9A, but a very temperate area to be. You go further south, it gets hotter, but they can grow more succulents. And then just within Texas, we are zone 3. So you can use either one. You can go by the USDA number, which is 9A, 9B, or you can do the regions done by the Texas. Okay, so this is kind of the same thing, but that's Boone again, but it's great to, when you're looking at, if you choose to go transplants, even if you're looking at ornamentals, gently drop the plant into your hand while you pull off the plastic pot and see what the roots are doing. If they're just going in circles and circles, put that one back. That's root bound. You can go, as you're planting, you can, kind of wiggle and try to spread out the roots. But if you can find roots that are white, that are going through the ground but really haven't hit the bottom, those are prime. Much higher chance of success. And that's what he's pointing out here. And a lot more. Okay, so if you're going to start your for transplant, you're usually going to start inside with a grow light. And you're going to use a different type of soil, not a garden, not a, for pots or for anything. You're going to use a seed starting soil. So they don't have to work very hard to put out their little shoots. And then when they get to the size that you want, which is usually probably by the time they've put on some mature real leaves, not the little baby leaves. And then you go outside for a little bit, bring them back in, and keep doing that, but extend the time that they're outside for about over a week before you move them outside. That's called hardening off. You just can't put a little baby plant straight out into the Texas sun. It won't make it. And once again, there's some good websites to visit. When you do things from seed, it's always a good idea to read the back of it, because that'll tell you your planting times. It'll give you any ideas of problems that it might have. Depending on which seed company you use, it'll also tell you maybe not plant it next to another type of plant, because they don't like each other. Kind of like an example of that, we'll get more into it with the herbs. Like rosemary and lavender really like to do their own thing. They don't want to be next to all the other herbs. Main reason being, they don't want that much water. And we'll get into it more, but so be aware of the type of plant that you have and what kind of watering it's going to need. Most vegetables are all going to be needed to water the same amount. So in September, we're going to put these in: potatoes, green beans, lima, edible pods, like edamame or something, and your fall squash. And I've often been asked, how do you know when potatoes are ready? I mean, it's just the green that's on the top. How do you know? I think it's easiest if you do it in one of those crushable bags, because you can crush the side down. Well, you're adding soil as the potato plant grows, so that you add the soil up about 3 to 4 inches, and then just keep doing that for about 3 times. And then on the back of your seed pod, if you choose to do it that way, I would actually recommend getting an organic tomato and that has eyes on it, and then cut that up and let it dry out before you put it in the ground. But I like the crushable pots, because then you can crush a side of it and see the potatoes growing. And also at some point the tops will die over. I don't like waiting till then, because sometimes then the potatoes can be over matured and already have eyes on them. So if you put it in your bed, just put it somewhere where it's an easy access to move the soil away so that you can look at it, versus pulling it out and then putting it back in because they're not ready. And so here are some examples. This is what the plant looks like on top. So it's really hard to tell. How do you know when they're ready? So at some point you got to look down in there and see if anything's growing. Okay, and then this is Boone giving directions on how to plant potatoes. And I think everybody, like I said, you cut it up with an eye or more on it, and then you put it in the ground and cover it up. So that's a 2-minute video. So here are some green beans, snap beans. I recommend more, depending on how many people you have in your household or how many people you're feeding, you're going to want to put probably 2 or more of these in there, because they put on for a long time, but if you're going to put some up or freeze some and save them, you're going to need several plants, because these go fast. Just about everybody likes green beans. And harvest when the pods are young. Don't wait till they're really long and then they're tough and stringy. And same applies to the lima beans. Harvest when they're mature, and you can see the seeds in them. There should be about 3 to 4. And then you can go from there. You can shell them or however you would like to prepare them. Fall squash, pretty much, you can also grow regular summer squash and zucchini, but you'll be getting into other kinds, like patty pan. Do we have? Yeah, oh, those 8-ball zucchinis. I don't know if you can see that, but that is a lot of fun. They're round, and the kids kind of go, "What are these?" And they're telling, "Oh, it's just a plant that grows that looks like a pool ball." Don't have to tell them it's zucchini. Just that it's just a cool looking thing. And then you've got, and this once again starting in September. So that's the only thing that makes, one of the things that makes the fall gardening a little bit more interesting is that there's different times of a fall of when they need to go in. Some won't even go in till, like I said, November, December. And strawberries, you won't be eating them, but there's a lot of perennial strawberry plants out there that you'll need to take care of through the winter, but then you'll have an early and long harvest in the spring. So, and that's one of Steve's grandsons. And so the one thing about strawberries, if you choose to plant them, is you really need to mulch around the base of them. I like to use straw, not to be confused with hay. Hay is what cows and horses eat. Hay has weeds in it, so you want to find straw where the weed seeds have been moved out. And you don't need a whole lot of it. But they don't like to be wet. So they need to be either hanging or above straw or some type of mulch. And then and then as we get into the cooler season, you're going to be looking at your lettuces, your root vegetables. This is the time of year, even though it's sold in the summer and all through the summer, this is the time of year that parsley and cilantro love. And even if they get a little frost on them and they look kind of wilty, they love it. I've had a stand of cilantro, or no, it was parsley that went all the way from September all the way till about May. And it was awesome, and it got really big. So heavy feeders love to have, a higher nitrogen because they're not worried about flowers. So you just want them to leaf out. Nitrogen is primarily for leaves. So if you're looking at ornamental flowers or, that would be and flowers include the blossoms for vegetables. So that's where you need the good nitrogen fertilizer. Well, mostly a well-balanced, but if it does have a little bit more nitrogen, that'll help you leaf out. And then broccoli, it's another cool season. One thing that's great about broccoli is that even if you're not going to eat it all at one time, you can transplant. I would recommend that for seeds. Plant it, and then another 2 weeks, plant another one. So you have a continuous source. And broccoli will grow really towards the middle, or if not the end of March. And and the same thing will apply to broccolini, which looks like a broccoli, but they're different. And then cauliflower, I've tried all 3 colors. The purple does blanch out a little bit, but if you love to do raw cauliflower or crudités, it's beautiful to have the normal white, the purple, and the cheddar, which is the yellow one. And then cabbage, give yourself some room. I did some bok choy a couple of years ago, and one was so big I could not put my hand around it. So if you like to do stuffed cabbages or just bok choy, if you do stir fries, just know that it's big. I didn't know it got that big. Brussels sprouts, awesome. I don't know if anybody has ever, I forgot where I saw it, but they actually had the stalk, the plant, for sale. And it was covered in Brussels sprouts, but it was about that tall. It was just the stalk that had the Brussels sprouts on it. So it might have been at Whole Foods or H-E-B or something. It was several years ago. But when you do grow Brussels sprouts, you want to harvest from the bottom up because it's growing up and it's putting the new Brussels sprouts at the top. So that helps it to grow. I've tried both of those, but my favorite is the jade cross. And then carrots. Okay, carrots, they need really good soil without rocks or clumps of dirt or anything. They're very finicky. It doesn't hurt the carrot, but it could grow funny. I don't know if anybody's eaten those mutant carrots that look like they've got legs with the hair stuff. They came across a rock, so they split. If you want the straight kind, make sure that your soil is free of any hard debris. Now, when you're looking at your carrots, a really fun one that I found, I think it might have been called the Cirque du Soleil, but they were round. They were round like a radish and that size. So they grew quicker, and they were so much fun. Boil that up, and, if you want to, add a little sugar and cinnamon, and you've got little candy balls for your dinner. And then once again, most of your root vegetables will need to be grown from seed. They do not transplant well. They don't like to be moved. They want to go in one spot and stay there. And that is definitely the case with carrots. You will see that some carrots will grow out pretty long, and then the other ones will just be little mutants. And the main reason is that root vegetables usually have, if you think of a turnip or a radish or carrots, anything like that, they're putting down a root. It's the root that we eat. So that doesn't necessarily apply to potatoes, but they have the eyes on them, and that's why they're underground. They like to be dark. And then those eyes are going to turn into another plant. So just think of root vegetables as always underground and cool weather. And then beets, I love these roasted. And so you see that long taproot? If you see a plant that's at the garden, they're calling it a beet, don't buy it because it's not going to make it. It's because it's got and you're not in any nursery, I'm not talking about big box stores. When you're in nurseries, they already know that. They won't sell them, but they will make sure that you've got plenty of seeds to get. And then when you get to the lettuces and arugulas and all the leafy greens, your mustards, all of that, love the cooler weather. And you want to eat them from the outside in. You're more than welcome to, and they'll keep growing. If you know that you've got a big party coming up, and you have that, you can take the whole thing, but that's it. It's not going to make any more. You've taken the whole thing out. And a lot of people that I've had comment is just like, oh, I don't like homegrown lettuces. They're bitter. They got a weird taste to them. Okay, that's the milk that's between the leaves inside all lettuces. So it's best to prep them however you'd like to, but wash them and then refrigerate them. There's something about the cool weather. Kids seem to be more sensitive to homegrown lettuce. So if you'll put them in the fridge for, I don't know, you harvest it in the morning, it'll be ready at night. It'll take that bitterness out. Has anybody come across that? Yeah, I don't know what it is. I just suck it up and keep eating because I know it's good, but I have found that
early in the morning.
Yes, and I said that so that it'll be ready by dinner. But that's the trick, so just FYI. Spinach, Bloomsdale is the best. I've also tried the Thai at the bottom. I've planted mine for several years in kind of what I called the above ground, so that you've got the space under it, but it's with metal around it. I have found that they've not been that successful. I think that heats up the soil too much. When I moved them into the ground, definitely, they came out more like this. So that's a mature spinach plant. Everybody, you might buy bags at the grocery store. Those are baby leaves. When they first start coming out, they're flat and straight. As they mature, which they're still fine, but they have more nutrients, is when they get like that. A lot of it also depends on I find the Thai has a flatter. not so curled spinach. It's just a preference. If you are cooking it with olive oil and garlic, they all look the same. It doesn't matter. And chard, same thing. This is so pretty. I don't know if anybody's ever is limited on space, but this is one of my recommendations when I give a talk on edible gardens. Because the bright lights, which is what this is, I mean, they have red to orange to yellow stems, and it's just beautiful. And they taste good. It's another great one to cook. I don't know if I'd make a whole salad out of it because it's got a little tougher leaf. And then your kales, my favorite is the, we don't have it up here, it may not have been out, but it's called the dinosaur kale. It grows forever. It just keeps growing. At some point when it gets really hot, it just finally starts dying. But it's dinosaur, it gets really tall, and it's got the leaf that looks like what we imagine dinosaur skin to look like. Kohlrabi's awesome, and I've never really had collards because I only had it with my grandmother, and I didn't like the way it was cooked, and I just never got it. So anyway, but I love this kale. Well, not those two. Those two are excellent. Just my personal favorite is called the dinosaur kale.
I'm going to bring you a pot of collard greens. They're delicious.
Okay, well, now are you cooking them with salted pork? And okay, well, then I might like that. But just the way she cooked it, East Texas, I mean, I probably would love it now, but bless her heart, she would have been 126 years old, so she's not here. And then onions are one of my favorite things to grow. Oh my gosh, your child, your husband, friend, coworker, somebody got you irritated. When these guys are mature, and you'll know because the top leaves, and there's no guesswork. You just watch the plant. When those top leaves start to fall over, it's time to pull them out. And I mean, it is a great pop. You're just like, take that. Take that. Oh, okay, no, I've never been in that situation. I'm always loving towards my plants, but if you're not, that's a good one. Also, I've grown both purple because they're more expensive in the grocery store, but I have done whites, 10-15s, yellows, and stuff like that. But my onions, with great taste, my record so far is 2.5 pounds. That was about that big. Oh, I just loved it. And then they last a while. I mean, you want them to, you have to put them out so the skin will crinkle up. That's the skin that you peel off and gets all over your kitchen. So, yeah, I can't say enough how much fun. That is, of course, if you like onions. Leeks, I don't use them that much. It's in the onion family. They're like really big green onions, have a stronger flavor. It's great if you ever make the cold potato soup called vichyssoise. And I can't tell you, I've only grown them once, and I had marginal luck.
The secret to leeks is you plant them really deep.
That's probably what I did not do.
Because you want that blank stem. That's the prized part, like leek soup.
Then I did not plant them right.
The starters, and I just leave a little bit sticking above the ground. I just poke a hole so that almost the whole thing goes in. I just drop it in, and then you'll get a long blank stem.
Okay, well then I'm going to try it again. And I'll try collards. I am eating turnip leaves, but the larapin juice, as my grandmother used to call them. So the turnip leaves, on most of these vegetables, your beets, of your root vegetables, the leaves are edible. Either for a salad or saute it up or put it in a soup, however you want to do it. I love soups in cold weather. Turnips, awesome. I just roast them, the bottom part, the actual vegetable, in butter. I just do it with butter. Can't go wrong with butter. And I'm not talking margarine, butter. Radishes, love those. I've never grown a daikon, which are just bigger radishes. I mean, they can get really big. I just like the cheeriness of little red radishes. And one thing about radish is the longer you leave it in the ground, the spicier it will be. So once you, I don't know. Oh, and this is also I didn't know. One seed, one radish. You don't get the bunch. I thought you could plant one and get like 12. And I thought it was interesting. There are always 12 in a bunch. All these great radishes I can count on. No, it's one seed, one radish. And once again, you can do the continual planting, like, plant 12 or whatever your number is, and then plant a week or so later another amount of seeds, and just keep yourself in radishes, if that's your choice. Okay, so basically on our herbs, just about everything. I don't know if it'll make it through the whole winter without a little bit of protection. The main thing to remember is that basil will not. As soon as it gets probably around 50 degrees, it's going to go bye-bye. Now, if you can save the seeds, I'm sure you've seen them, with those little stalks that come out with the little white flowers. Let those get a seed and just gently pull them off and save it and plant it next year. Cilantro and parsley, as I said earlier. Rosemary, they love the winter. Sage and chives, which when you think of herbs, think of how you cook. What do you like in your food? I like sage in the winter because I put it on, turkey or a pork, whatever. So think of how you grow. Mint is awesome, but it usually doesn't make it through the winter. It might come back because it grows. If anybody's grown mint, you'll notice how it can take over your garden. Peppermint is mint. So that. Now, if you wanted to plant lavender and rosemary, you can plant them together. They both don't like to talk to other people, and they both don't need much water. In fact, they don't like it. They'll die on you. The one thing with lavender for us is that sometimes is very tough for people to grow is the humidity. So when you grow lavender, you need to do, I have found it works to do these extra steps. One, do not water the leaves. Definitely do not water the leaves. Water the soil. And if on top of the soil, instead of whatever mulch you like, use white aquarium rocks or seashells from the beach. The lighter the color, the better, because what that does is it reflects the heat back up into the plant. I don't know if you've ever gone to nurseries and looked at rosemary or lavender plants and see a brown spot. The guy stood there and just, watered. Moved to the next one, watered. And it creates that brown spot because they don't like. I had a rosemary plant, a little bit bigger than that one. Never watered it. It only got water from the eaves of the house. Had it for over 9 years until my new puppy decided to dig to China and killed the plant. Almost gave him back, but I didn't. Had him for 19 years longer. It's probably because of all the rosemary he got in his claws. So, so that is just an example of how little, and that's in the ground. Things are different when they're in a pot. You are going to have to water. But that plant I never watered. Made it through the freezes. Oh, it was awesome. Okay, that's it. So y'all were very quiet. Anybody have any random questions or just like what kind of dirt for the new beds for the new people? The question is, when's the best time to plant your lettuces? What was the other one? Parsley. Okay, cilantro, yeah. When the weather starts cooling off, so I would say mid-September, because they will not make it through January, assuming that January was like last year. We got the El Nino coming in. We're supposedly getting a lot of rain this winter, and it's going to be a little warmer. Don't know what that means, and we're all in this boat of changing climate. So I don't know if that answers your question. Yeah, just basically September. Yeah, anybody else?
You said if you could induce seeds for
I don't know what that is.
That's the sale, the vegetable and plant sale, October 10th. Fall sale, our fall sale.
September is a suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah, these are already established plants that are grown in the greenhouse.
So they're ready to go. So they're going to be transplants. Yeah.
They're not seedlings, they're already.
Yeah, they're transplants. Yeah.
Nice, healthy transplants.
Oh, okay. So Richard mentioned this earlier. It's on the tables, but if you want to just aim your camera up here. But most importantly, leave the comment of what you would like to see later, the rest of this year and all of next year.
How often do the maps for zonage get updated?
They haven't updated them yet. So I don't know what the year is, but we're in transition, you know. So that's why I think if you are going to do seeds, look on the back for the temperature. And if you're doing transplants, that list that I gave you way earlier, that where you could click on each individual plant, that'll kind of tell you.
Can you tell us how to tell if seeds are still viable?
If they're kept in a dark place, mine have lasted for 3 years. But the way you tell is like the question was how can you tell when seeds are still viable? I have found the best way. There's probably many more, but if you just get a paper towel, dampen it, put your seeds in there, and, keep it damp, maybe for a couple of days, probably not more than a week or 10 days. And the seeds that are viable, it'll give you let's say you put 10 in there, and 8 of them put a little root out. It's a pretty good bet that 80% of the rest of the seeds in your packet are viable. You may get less, you may get none, and if there's none, we'll throw them away.
Well, we share a lot of seeds, and I've gotten some that just nothing.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how I can tell if they're viable, but I can't speak specifically to that because a lot of it depends on how you planted it.
You said something about pulling the basil seeds.
Yes,
Do you need to, will you do that when it's green, or do you need to wait till the top is?
brown. Those little white flowers. Now what happens is that makes your basil leaves, you need to keep those off your plant as it's growing and you're using it. But once you're kind of done, but it hasn't weaned out and died because it's 50 degrees or lower, wait till they turn brown and then save those. Because the leaves will be kind of bitter. So,
Once it starts to flower.
yeah, once it starts, that's going to seed, and that makes the leaves become bitter. So if you'll keep it clipped, and really that's the best way to get a big basil plant, is just keep clipping it. Just keep clipping it. Make pesto. You don't need that much basil. Just make pesto, save it, and just let it go. Anybody else? Yeah, so are you weekend outside or weekend on a balcony in an apartment? Yeah, what you're looking for is good drainage, so do planting mix, not potting mix. That's a general statement. The better your soil, the more success you're going to have, and the less additives you're going to need to put in. Anybody else?
I think Richard wanted you to, you had another question over here, but I think he wanted you to make an announcement too, so people that didn't get that will know about it.
Okay, so question first, announcement second.
Carrots that were this long, but I have really dense clay soil, so then I put them in a pot, much fluffy stuff, and they got bigger. Wow. So if we're going to plant root vegetables, should we focus more on containers or raised beds so we can control the soil mix better? Or is in-ground okay in our county?
I think it's whatever is going to be the choice for you, because they're both going to work pretty good. I would say if it is a raised bed or in-ground, and in-ground being the most, is that you are going to, the area where you're going to plant the seeds, you're going to need to make sure that it doesn't have any clods in it. So you're going to have to fork it up, and do something like that. But I think whatever makes it easier for you. but it's been my experience that if you do an above ground rate, bed that's got the space under it, don't have a metal container. It kills everything. Okay, back. I would probably wait till spring, unless you have the ability to protect it. But one thing about so here's the deal, and also not plant it yet. Once again, because we're going to be going into cold weather. Avocado trees are great, and they grow really tall, and they do succeed here. But there's a little tender care. The first 3 years, morning sun, no afternoon sun. Like under a tree, and the reason is that, it's funny enough, the avocado tree can get sunburned. And so when you can put it outside full time in the sun, because it's going to need the sun, wait till and you'll see it starting at the bottom. You'll see the bark starting, and it'll be brown, whereas most of the stem will be green. And then just wait till that brown goes all the way up. If you ever travel in Mexico or probably Central America, a lot of times you'll see all trees, but mostly avocado trees, painted white. It does look pretty, but it acts as sunscreen. It's latex white paint mixed with a lot of water. And so, you'll see that down the main streets. Like I saw it in Mexico City. My daughter lived down there, and so I saw it. Okay. No. I've done that, and where you pop out the seed and put toothpicks, and it grows. And yes, I grew it. It grew a bunch of leaves. I grew it for I don't know how many years. It was just a beautiful green tree. It doesn't. They're even if you buy organic, they're treated at some point, or something is done, but definitely with grocery store regular avocados. They're treated for transport. So they will grow, and I'm not saying it won't ever, because in nature, nothing's 100%, except that there is change. That's 100%. But yeah, so you'll need to go to a nursery. Don't go to a big box store, because they may not have the ones that I think are the best for our area, temperature, sun, soil, and stuff like that, is the Lila, which is the old opal tree, or the Joey. And I like them because of the size. It looks like a Haas avocado. So, any other questions? Okay. Well, Richard, are you taking, so take a picture of the QR codes. Oh, wait a minute. I have one announcement. So we do our vegetable and herb things that come out of our greenhouse. We do it twice a year. We do a vegetable and herb sale in the fall, which will be October 10th. It's open to anybody who wants to come, and it will be here in this building, in this room. Word to the wise, it sells out quickly. So you want to get here a little before 9. Not as quick if you've ever gone to the fruit tree and berries. That one, cray-cray. And then the next one will be probably in February or March, and that'll be the spring. And we grow these, you'll see the greenhouse back out there, so we're growing constantly. Randy, anything?
I'm saying this on behalf of my daughter. When you're growing vegetables, warm or cool season, first off, of course, you want to plant what you want to eat, or, as I have done, plant what your neighbors like that you may not eat, because that really, you get new friends that way. My neighbor likes hot jalapenos. I don't like them at all. But he appreciates them. The second is the quantity that you plant. Know that if you have a good crop, you're going to have all that stuff. And unless you can find places or people to give it away to, it's going to end up in your compost, because there are some things you just cannot eat enough of, and you cannot freeze. I had the unfortunate experience of having an absolutely bumper crop of cucumbers. My daughter was young. I humiliated her by putting all the cucumbers in a red wagon, sent her up and down the block, and I don't think she has forgiven me for doing that to this date. She certainly remembers it. So you want to be cognizant of that, and what the plants will produce, the amount that it'll produce, and then what you or those around you can consume. Also, should you go out to look at the vegetable gardens, you will not see the cool season vegetables in there yet, as related to what Lauren has said. But the rest of the gardens are doing very well, and it can also give you some idea about the raised beds, and how we're doing that as well. So, without further ado, I believe this ends this particular program. We thank you for coming.